Hi, welcome to this tutorial on text fields. What we're going to be doing is creating a text field to take information from a user, and then we're going to put a text element on screen to display what the user has entered. So let's have a look at what we're going to be working on. Well, first of all, when you create the project, it's going to have the information in the VStack. There are two elements in here. One is the image, which is here. The other one is a text, which is below here. We also have a VStack, which goes from this open brace to a closed brace, and it has some padding, which places it in the middle of the screen. So that's the structure of the page. But let's get to work on what we want to do. First of all, I'm going to remove both the elements that are on the screen at the moment, and you can see they've now been deleted. And we now have an empty VStack. Remember, vertical stack, everything goes underneath the object before. So the first object I want to place on here is a text field. Now, a text field is different to a text. Text is where you just output information, but a text field will actually take information from the user. So the next thing we're going to do is give it some text inside the text field. So give the user some instructions, and we're going to go enter your name. And then what we need to do is tell it we're going to be getting the text part of this, and also we're going to store it in a variable called username, $username. And we'll talk about this in a moment. But you can see that it's giving us an error, and if we look at the error, it cannot find it in scope. That's because we're using a variable and we haven't declared the variable yet. So what we need to do is actually declare the variable at state. So we're going to head up here, and I'm just going to put a comment in. And what we want to do, and you can see it sort of occurring here in a shadow, is go at state, and that will declare that we're going to be creating something. The scope of the actual variable, which is private. Then we're declaring the variable, and it's going to be called username. And it's going to be of type string. So the information being put in there is going to be text. And the first thing that's going in there is nothing. So that'll make what's called an empty string. Now make sure you spell it correctly, and you'll notice that the error disappears. Now there is a difference between username here and username here. There is a $sign. What this $sign does, it creates a binding between this text field and the variable up here. This binding allows the text field to read and write to this variable. So they're sort of joined together. So let's have a look at what's happening over on the screen. You can see now we've got enter your name. So I should be able to put in any name in there. So I can put Leon. And you should be able to type your name in as well. But it's also to the left-hand side. So let's sort of sort that out, and we might actually give it a method to make it look more like a text field. So what we're going to do is we're going to press enter, and we're going to put a method in. So we're going to, or a modifier. We're going to put a dot for the modifier, and we're going to go text field, and we're going to be dealing with its style. And then we're going to give it rounded borders with a text field style. So go rounded, borders, text field style. When it comes up, press enter, and it will go to the end. But the only problem is you have to put the two brackets on. So remember the open and close bracket, and then another closed bracket. Now if we look closely at the text field, you'll now see there's a little rounded corner on there, which makes it really nice. The other thing we might want to do is actually move it in a little bit. So we might actually add some padding to this, but we're going to add something in particular. We're not only going to add padding, but it's going to be horizontal padding. So now it will be placed in the middle. So it's not so much out to the edges now. Now this is all okay. We can type in a name like Bob, but we can't see if it's really getting the information in there. We notice that we can type them in letter by letter. So when we go B-O-B, you see it shows every letter. But let's output what's going into this variable called username. To do this, we're going to put a text element on screen, and we're just going to reference username. So we're telling it now, yes, I've got a text field, and then there's going to be username. At the moment, there's nothing in username. Notice how it's quote, and it's empty, so there's nothing in there. But as I start typing in my name, you can see it appearing letter by letter as I type it in the text field area. So what's happening here is every time I put a letter into this text field, it's updating the variable here. It's also updating what is occurring with this text element here. So every key press, this program's sort of looking at all the elements and running. So I hope you found this tutorial useful in how to collect information from a text field.